A very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on Newsfirst. I'm Adushka Balasuriya.
And I'm Arundhati Mudarnayak. Let's start off with a look at your stories making headlines this evening.
20 years rigorous imprisonment for the chairman of the Tangol Pradesh Sabha and 3 others. All 295 on board MH17 confirmed dead. International calls for an impartial investigation. Wildlife officers obstructed in Pannipitia while attempting to recover an elephant calf on a court order. 7 sailors arrested over the molesting of a schoolgirl in Jaffna released on bail.
And now for the stories in detail. The 2.5-year trial in the murder of British national Sheikh and the gang rape of his girlfriend Victoria Alexandrovna came to a close today. Now, with 4 of the defendants, including the chairman of the Tangol Pradesh Sabha, Sampath Chandra Pushpa Vidanapatirana, being sentenced to 20 years of rigorous imprisonment, the sentence was handed down by Colombo High Court Judge Rohini Walgama. The convicts were also ordered to pay a fine of 20,000 rupees each and pay compensation of 200,000 rupees each.
Six persons, including the chairman of the Tangol Pradesh Sabha, Sampath Chandra Pushpa Vidanapatirana, were indicted on 17 charges for the murder of British national Sheikh and the gang rape of his Russian national girlfriend Victoria Alexandrovna. The sentence was handed down for the 17 charges following 33 hearings at the High Court. The first 4 defendants, including Vidanapatirana, were found guilty of culpable homicide and sentenced 20 years rigorous imprisonment. The convicts were also sentenced 20 years of rigorous imprisonment for the gang rape of Victoria Alexandrovna, 14 years for the attempted murder of Victoria Alexandrovna, 6 months for unlawful assembly, and 4 years for the assault of Ryan Lanka, with all prison terms to be served at once. The 4 defendants sentenced were Lahiru Kalum, Samandesha Priya, Sampath Vidanapatirana, and Praneeth Chaturanga. 2 of the defendants, Mohottige Sarath and Chanuka Chaturanga, were acquitted owing to the lack of evidence against them. Prior to reading out the sentence, Judge Rohini Walgama made a special statement in open court. She noted that various views had been expressed from the outset of this trial. Walgama said that while the trial was a duty for the prosecution and a responsibility for the defense, she took steps to serve justice, considering it to be a divine task. The judge also called on the defense to act in keeping with their conscience if they decide to appeal or take other action with regard to the verdict and sentencing.
We welcome the verdicts and sentences handed down today to those responsible for the murder of Sheikh. We hope that this will bring some closure to his family and to his friends who have faced a long and difficult fight for justice. The officials at the Attorney General's office have shown great professionalism and integrity, and we thank them for that. We will continue to monitor any developments in the case closely.
Those who killed my brother have been punished and are now behind bars for a long time. Our campaign was not only about justice, but to bring awareness of the wonderful work my brother did around the world, but more importantly, to acknowledge the bravery and defiance shown by those who gave witness accounts in the case. Today is a symbolic moment. A day the country delivered justice, a day I delivered promise to my brother.
We must look at whether there was sufficient cause for the sentences. Since we were not given the reasoning for the sentence in open court, we will look into these factors in the coming days, and the lawyers for the first 4 defendants will submit the appeals prepared by them within 14 days.
The chairman of the Tangol Pradesh Sabha, Sampath Chandra Pushpa Vidanapatirana, was taken to the Valikara prison amid tight security following the sentencing. British national Sheikh was murdered on the evening of the 24th of December 2011 at a tourist hotel in Tangol. His girlfriend Victoria Alexandrovna was admitted to hospital with serious injuries. The chairman of the Tangol Pradesh Sabha and 2 others were arrested in connection with the incident 2 days later.
Now, in a follow-up to the tragic plane crash that occurred last night over eastern Ukraine, Ukraine's foreign minister says there is no chance that the missile apparently used to shoot down a Malaysian Airlines jet over the east of the country was of Ukrainian military origin.
Now, speaking to reporters, the foreign minister said that the Ukraine army did not have such missiles in the area and said none had been seized by separatist fighters in recent weeks.
MH17 crashed near the village of Gorbovo, killing all of its passengers and crew, and US authorities say that they have evidence that MH17 was shot down by a missile. The Newsfirst International Desk filed the following report.
Now, according to the latest statistics released by Malaysian Airlines, a majority of the passengers were from the Netherlands. Now tonight, Newsfirst has a comprehensive report on flight MH17 which went down, claiming the lives of 295 passengers and crew.
Footage has emerged of the passengers inside the plane stowing their hand luggage on board. In the 14-second video, MD Ali MD Salim expressed his nervousness while on board the Malaysia Airlines flight MH17. The 30-year-old uploaded the video on Instagram, and it shows other passengers settling inside the doomed flight and stowing their baggage in the overhead compartments. Wreckage of Malaysian airline flight MH17 found near Gribova village, eastern Ukraine, an area controlled by pro-Russia separatists. It has now been confirmed that 173 on board the flight were from Netherlands, 44 from Malaysia, 12 from Indonesia, 27 from Australia, 9 Britons, 4 Germans, 4 Belgians, 3 Filipinos, a Canadian and a New Zealander. In some places, the fragments of the wreckage of the aircraft were burned and twisted beyond recognition, while other parts were blown clean off. Fragments found clearly contained the Malaysian airline logo. The plane travelling from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur left at 10:15 GMT and was believed to have lost contact with air traffic control at 14:15 GMT. 2 Ukrainian villagers reported seeing 2 explosions in the sky.
Видел самолет, падал, а за минусом упал еще один самолет. Вспышка была. Я не знал, самолет-то не самолет, но была вспышка еще. Взрыв. Все, больше ничего не видел.
А конкретно этот?
Падал у меня над огородом. Потом его резко развернуло и пошел он сюда.
Ну, перед этим пальба была. Слышно, что это, стрельба была где-то в небе там. Несколько выстрелов. А потом сильный хлопок. И он из-за ту... Я аж сильный хлопок, я аж испугался, что рядом какой-то. Я с трактора голову высунул. И смотрю, из-за туч появляется, распадается на куски. Начали туда, черные части, туда-сюда, куда-то. Полчасти туда пошло, полчасти сюда. То... Ну, я быстренько сюда пробежал, как раз тут этот огонь был, этот пламя тут.
Moscow rebels claim not to have sufficient surface-to-air missiles to carry out such an attack, blaming the Ukrainian army for the incident. A tug-of-war on who should claim responsibility persists, as neither party has claimed responsibility for the attack. US President Barack Obama was quick to respond as he pledged his support to uncover information on the incident to discover what happened and why.
The United States will offer any assistance we can to help determine what happened and why. And as a country, our thoughts and prayers are with all the families of the passengers wherever they call home.
Now, what you are about to listen to now is a conversation that was posted on the internet by pro-Russian rebels who purportedly shot down flight MH17. Now, this conversation was broadcast on a number of international media outlets. Newsfirst cannot independently verify the video.
Только что сбили самолет, группа минера за Янакиева упал. Сейчас поехали искать и фотографировать сбитый самолет. Дымится. Ну, 30 минут назад где-то. Да, майор.
Значит, самолет рассыпался в воздухе в районе шахты Петропавловской. Первый 200-й. Нашли первого 200-го. Была женщина. Да, гражданский. Да, Саш.
Ну, что у вас там?
Короче, стопудово гражданский борт.
Понятно. А этот, как и, народу много там?
Да пиздец. В обломки прямо во дворы падали тут. Вот так вот.
Ну, борт какой?
Да я еще пока не разобрался, потому что я не был возле основной части. Я только вот смотрю там, где начали первые тела падать. Там остатки внутренних кронштейнов, кресла, тела.
Понятно.
Вот так.
Из вооружения есть что-нибудь?
И вообще ничего. Гражданские вещи, медицинские ошметки, блин, там полотенце такое, туалетная бумага.
Документы есть?
Да. Индонезийского студента есть. Из университета Томпсона, блин.
По самолету, сбитым в районе Снежного Тереза.
Ну?
Это оказался пассажирский. Упал в районе Грабова, там море трупов, женщины, дети. Сейчас казаки там смотрят это все дело. По телевизору передают вроде бы как этот, Ан-26 украинский транспортник. Но, говорят, написано на нем малазийские авиалинии. И что он делал на территории Украины?
Ну, значит, завозили шпионов, их нахуй. Понял? Не будет так, блядь, сейчас война идет, блядь.
Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 was en route from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur. However, the Boeing 777 crashed in the eastern part of Ukraine. Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 left Amsterdam at 10:17 a.m. GMT, which is almost 3:45 in the evening. However, at around 6:42 in the evening Sri Lankan time, the plane reportedly crashed in the eastern part of Ukraine, which is controlled by pro-Russian rebels. Flight tracking website that collects real-time transponder data from civilian airlines showed how many aircraft were now avoiding the area of eastern Ukraine where Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 crashed. Newsfirst spoke to Captain Elmo Javardana, who is a pilot by profession, as to why the pilots of MH17 took the East Ukraine airspace to reach its destination to Kuala Lumpur during a volatile situation in the region.
He always has the right, and it happens also, because when you're flying on a route, supposing there's a lot of bad weather, he will ask for a diversion and maybe he'll go 100 miles away from it. So that is not the problem. He has the authority to do it if he knows something is wrong. An airway is either closed or it's open. So that is a decision the civil aviation authorities take, and there's a flight plan that the captain puts in to say, I am going on this route. And that will not be accepted by air traffic control if the route is not safe. So there is no question of that. I mean, that captain flew a normal route that any pilot would fly.
An unidentified group had pelted stones at a group of journalists who had gone near the Devarum Vihara Vihara in Pannipitiya today to cover a news story. One journalist was injured in the incident.
The authorization application submitted with regard to an elephant calf which was taken into custody by wildlife officers from the Kandalama Walawa in Mirigama and subsequently released was considered once again at the Western Provincial High Court in Gampaha today. The hearing was presided over by High Court Judge Piyasili Vikramasinghe Mathurata. An interim enjoining order was issued today that the elephant calf in question be transferred to the Atha Athura Sevana Sanctuary and be placed in the custody of the Director General of Wildlife. We believe that the calf received justice today via the intervention of the Attorney General. This court process can be seen as a first step forward halting the organised elephant smuggling racket in the country. Journalists who visited the Devarum Vihara Vihara in Pannipitiya today to cover the elephant calf being taken into custody by wildlife officers as per the court order were pelted with stones. The journalist who was injured in the incident has lodged a complaint with the Maharagama police. The police say that a suspect has been arrested.
Earlier we reported that the chairman of the Tangol Pradesh Sabha and 4 others were sentenced to 20 years of rigorous imprisonment for the murder of British national Kuram Sheikh and the gang rape of his girlfriend. Now earlier today, the brother of Kuram Sheikh convened a media briefing in Colombo this evening and made the following remarks.
Closure for us is probably never going to happen. What's very important, I think, the comments brought out about, rebuilding, closure, moving on with your life, etc.
That doesn't happen, and it doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen just because a verdict's been given. I know for a fact, because I've seen my parents, I've seen my own life being transformed over the past 2.5 years. What it really gives for me, certainly, is that element of peace of the jigsaw. The severity of this case is so huge. You know, this isn't just the murder element, is everything else. Bearing in mind there were multiple charges that they were found guilty of. So I would be shocked or very surprised should somewhere down the line somebody somewhere takes that view that actually, you know, their sentences could be, you know, minimised to whatever that may be. But this is for, you know, the present government to ensure it doesn't happen and ensure that integrity within the government and within a judicial system continues, and this is an ideal scenario and an ideal case that they can actually utilise and always make it as an example going forward.
Still in local news, the Attorney General filed 31 indictments today to those accused over the assassination of Minister Jayaraj Fernandopulle. The indictments were filed against 3 suspects, including the former Assistant Superintendent of Police of Gampaha, Lakshman Kure.
The murder trial of Minister Jayaraj Fernandopulle was taken up at the Western Provincial High Court in Gampaha today. Here the accused pleaded not guilty to the charges. High Court Judge Piyasili Wickramasinghe Mathiwata ordered that the case be taken up again on the 15th of September. The suspects shied away from the media when exiting court.
I bow my head to the court with respect. I have the confidence that the court will follow this and will serve justice.
The Southern Sri Lankan Navy sailors arrested in connection with the molesting of an 11-year-old girl in Karinagar have been released on bail. The suspects were produced in an identification parade this evening prior to being released on bail.
The suspects were arrested following a complaint lodged by the girl's mother. A demonstration was held in Karinagar, Jaffna this morning to protest the incident. Area residents and local politicians participated in the demonstration. The arrested sailors were produced in the Jaffna court this afternoon. The police media spokesperson said the 7 sailors were released on bail following the identification parade, as they had not been identified.
The accepting of applications for poster voting for the impending Uva Provincial Council election commenced today. The deadline for submitting applications is the 6th of August. Deputy Elections Commissioner M.M. Mohammed says the deadline for submitting poster voting applications will not be extended for any reason whatsoever. Now, the Uva Provincial Council election is the topic of choice on the political stage. With all the heat of the election campaign trail, up next is the battle for Uva.
Poverty in the Badulla district, which was at 13% in 2004, is now at 21%. This is just Uva. The country's debt burden, which was 94,000 in 2004, has now increased to 410,000. This fact can be highlighted using Uva. These days, the opposition is reminiscing on the highest party level. They say the Progress Administrative Division in Sri Lanka is in the Uva province. These are people who governed the country for 25 years. His Excellency President Mahinda Rajapaksa is the one who commenced the transformation of the poorest district to the richest district. Leave aside the government's development as the United National Party, we can say that we made the country self-sufficient on rice. The alliance can now tell the country that they have made the country self-sufficient on narcotics. If you want to stop narcotics coming to Uva, defeat the alliance and vote for the United National Party. What is our political system today? Politics today means acquiring whatever businesses can be acquired from each province. They are using the power to acquire businesses in order to inappropriately make money. The most profitable business at present are narcotics and politics. Shouldn't we change this? This government will continue working. Although we have paved roads and provided electricity and water, these must be paid for. Do not turn back this flowing river over minor problems. What we have to do is ensure that money is coming into your pockets.
The fact that these buildings constructed over half a century ago are still standing and in good condition is cause for amazement. This is because not only was this area the site of frequent battles since the 1980s, but it is also an area where wild elephants roam freely. The Moraveva Central Pharmacy operated from this location, providing medication for 10 villagers, which come under the purview of the Moraveva Pradesh Sabha in Trincomalee. While people began abandoning their lands here as a result of the war in 1983, by 1986, these 10 villages had almost become ghost towns. People were resettled in these villages in 2009 with the return of the civil administration to the eastern province. At present, these villages are home to 1,000 families. Instead of the central pharmacy and maternal clinic, a primary medical care unit was established here to serve the resettled people. The staff at this centre was limited to 1 doctor and 2 junior staffers. Although there is an official doctor's residence, as a result of a wild elephant attack on the 9th of this month, the unit only operates in daytime.
Since there is no treatment at night, I suppose all we can do is die.
While the medicine storage of this unit was also attacked by wild elephants, the medicine and equipment scattered across the grounds as a result are yet to be recovered. As a result of 2 barren harvests being experienced here owing to the lack of rain, the adult men of these villages have moved to far-off areas in search of work as hired labourers. 7 people have died as a result of kidney failure in these 10 villages since they were resettled. Patients must travel 25 kilometers to reach the Trincomalee Base Hospital, which is the closest medical care centre from this location.
We're poor people. We take medication from here. It costs us 100 rupees for the bus to go to Trincomalee.
Shouldn't steps be taken to address the wild elephant problem and ensure that this unit is prepared to provide medical care at all times? Governor of the Eastern Province, this is over to you.
The 17th annual general meeting of the MBA Alumni Association of the University of Colombo was held in Colombo last evening.
The 17th AGM of the MBA Alumni Association of the University of Colombo was graced by a distinguished gathering including several preeminent professionals. Chairman of Phoenix Ogilvy, Irvin Virakodi, was the chief guest at the occasion.
I asked your Vice President whether you would specify a topic for me. And he said, no, I could speak on any subject I wish. And thank you very much for that freedom of speech given to me at a time. At a time, freedom of expression has so many constraints imposed upon it. Naturally, I think you would expect me to speak on advertising, communications, or impact of social media or some such topic. But I hope I will not be disappointing you if I stray into another topic, which of course has a serious implication on us, the society and the country. I was extended this invitation at a time when, like all right-thinking people of this country, I too was perturbed and saddened by certain incidents that took place about 6 weeks ago in Beirwal and Alumni. In this context, the legitimacy of a democratic society like ours is reflected when decisions and actions on the part of the decision makers have an impartial standpoint. Both rulers and people should be sensitive, tolerant and respectful of religious, cultural and racial differences. Then only can we realize the value of democracy, the foundation of which is unity in diversity.
The Provincial Office of the Ministry of National Languages and Social Integration in Sabaragamu was declared open today. The event was held under the auspices of the Subject Minister Vasudev Nanayakara and Canadian High Commission in Sri Lanka, Shirley Whitney.
The office has been established in Millavitia, Kuruvita. Speaking at a meeting held following the opening ceremony, Minister Vasudev Nanayakara said the time has come to broaden the meaning of democracy. We do not have the time to talk about problems between communities and races on a daily basis. There has been enough talk. It finally ended in a war. We need to finish this off with consensus, and we have to take the next socio-economic steps.
A color-filled sky, freedom bound with responsibility.
A seminar organized as a tribute to late South African President Nelson Mandela was held in Colombo yesterday. The seminar was organized by the Organization of Professional Associations of Sri Lanka. The seminar was held on the eve of Nelson Mandela's 96th birthday and also Nelson Mandela International Day for Freedom, Justice and Democracy as declared by the United Nations.
Nelson Mandela, the former president of South Africa and Nobel Peace Prize recipient, died at the age of 95 on the 5th of December 2013. This is the first time the day has been celebrated since his death.
Mandela Day calls on us to emulate Mandela in his struggle for liberation and unity. Personally, I have accepted that challenge and will utilize my good offices of being High Commissioner to share with you Sri Lankans the South African experience of what Mandela has taught us. My challenge to you is, what inspiration will you leave this meeting with tonight? If each one of us heeded the call to simply do good every day, we would be living Nelson Mandela's legacy and helping to build a country of our dreams.
There are people, dissonant voices alleging foreign interference, protesting over Mr. Ramaphosa's visit. I hope there will not be an impediment. I recall that Mandela himself, in accepting his Nobel Peace Prize, said in Oslo, but there are still some within our country who wrongly believe they can make a contribution to the cause of justice and peace by clinging to the shibboleths that have been proved to spell nothing but disaster. It remains our hope that these too will be blessed with sufficient reason to realize that history will not be denied and that the new society cannot be created by reproducing the repugnant past, however refined or enticingly repackaged. As with South Africa, so with Sri Lanka.
During the UNP media briefing held today, views were expressed on the incident where UNP MPs were obstructed from entering the Sapukaskanda oil refinery.
Minister Kehele Ramukwalla had stated that we arrived there without informing. I informed the chairman as well as the secretary to the ministry via email on Monday. Since there was no response, I sent a van over on Wednesday to hand deliver a letter. That is why they obstructed us from visiting the complex. In 2008, they held an event to lay a foundation stone and it cost 50 million rupees.
රුපියල් මිලියන 50ක් වේදම් කළා. දූෂණය නාස්තිය කොමිස් ගහිල්ල බාල ගන්න දෙනු.
There is corruption and there are bad deals that are being made. However, they have had the ability to bring busloads of henchmen to obstruct us and cover up their corrupt dealings.
තමන්ගේ දූෂණය වහගන්නට උත්සාහ කරා. මේ පාඩු ලබන රාජ්‍ය ආයතන
There is a question as to who is running these state institutions that are incurring losses. Is it the chairpersons of these institutions or the Sri Lanka Freedom Party's trade unions? The chairman was left helpless and he begged us not to go inside and that he cannot guarantee our safety. Then who will take this responsibility?
එහෙනම් කවුද මේක ඇතුලේ වගකීම ගන්නෙ?
බුද්ධ්‍යංශ වලින් කියලා දෙනවා මේ යන්නේ
The intelligence services had stated that we are going to disrupt the services of the oil refinery. We had no such plans. Unrest of this nature is being created to disturb peace in our society. This shows the accuracy of the reports compiled by the intelligence service.
ඉතා මනා ලෙස ඔප්පු වෙලා තියෙනවා මේ වාර්තාව. මෙතනින් අතර කරන්නේ අපි අනිවාර්ය.
We will not stop here. We will enter the oil refinery. We will investigate the corruption, fraud and wastage there.
නාස්ති අපි පරීක්ෂා ඒ ගැන පරීක්ෂණය
Now over in Ambalantata, UMP parliamentarian Sajid Premadasa attended a function.
විදේශ රටවල් වලට අපේ රටට ඇඟිලි ගහන්න බෑ. විදේශිකින්ට අපේ රටේ ජාතික න්‍යාය.
Foreign nations cannot interfere in our country's affairs. Foreigners cannot interfere with the agendas or internal affairs of our country. This is the usual song sung by the government. Yesterday, a special panel of international experts were appointed through a special gazette to assist the Missing Persons Commission. Isn't this interference in our country's internal affairs? When you look at the policies of the government, we can safely assume that they, the government, do not have two tongues, but seven. If they made this move 5 years ago, then all of the international organizations wouldn't have anything to say. But now, when the international community growls, we have to play according to their tune. The function was held to donate shares and money to the UMP branch located in Mana, Java, Ambalantara.
The rest hall at the historic Girihandusaya Vihara in Trincomalee was declared open today.
The rest hall has been constructed under the sponsorship of the Urumeyaka Ulpatha Foundation, which is headed by Milinda Morogoda. The labour was provided by Civil Defence Force personnel.
Sri Lankaවේ අනන්‍යතාවයන් සහ සංස්කෘතික උරුමයන්
The Urumeyaka Ulpatha Foundation, under the leadership of Milinda Morogoda, is rejuvenating the cultural heritage and identity of Sri Lanka. It is our purpose to provide facilities for pilgrims who visit these locations. There are no trustees here. What we have instead of trustees are the police and the armed forces. The Urumeyaka Ulpatha Foundation designed this rest hall in order to bring pilgrims here and have them conduct worship here.
The waste disposal problem facing Colombo was discussed at the Colombo District Development Coordination Committee meeting that was convened today.
The Coordination Committee convened at the Colombo District Secretariat in Arahempita. The problems that have been caused by waste being dumped in Colombo by the Colombo Municipal Council were highlighted at the meeting. The committee chairman inquired after representatives of the Colombo Municipal Council who had not attended the meeting. The administration of the Colombo Municipal Council is under those individuals. It is because these persons cannot resolve the problem that as the government, the Ministry of Urban Development, the Solid Waste Management Authority and the Ministry of Environment are working together to resolve the problem. And even when we are attempting to solve it, there are no responsible persons from the CMC here. When the government is attempting to take steps that they cannot, they are not there either. But they are able to go wherever and criticize us for not resolving this.
In your sports news, it's cricket. Sri Lanka were on an unconvincing 283 for the loss of 9 wickets at stumps on day 3 of the first test against South Africa today in response to the visitors' 455 for 9 declared in their first innings. Upul Tharanga, making a comeback to the test side after a lapse of 7 years, scored 83. Kumar Sangakkara, looking for a world record for scoring half-centuries in 8 consecutive innings, was dismissed for 24. Skipper Angelo Matthews scored 89 for his 15th Test half-century. South Africa's Dale Steyn impressed with figures of 5 for 50.
Bhanuka Champati and Sandeep Samarsingh are the finalists of Super Fighter, Sri Lanka's first ever sports reality TV program, returned to their hometown today. They received much cheer from sports fans who gathered on either side of the road.
Super Fighter.
Bhanuka Jayampati, who was adjudged the best boxer at Sri Lanka's first ever sports reality program, Super Fighter, is a student of the Vidyaratna Science faculty in Horana. Sandeep Samarsingh, also from the same school, was adjudged the winner in the 60 kg weight class. Sri Sumangala Vidyalaya in Panadura had organized the main event to welcome both Bhanuka and Jayampati. Subsequently, Bhanuka Jayampati arrived at his hometown of Alubomula. The Bandaragama Pradesh Sabha had also organized another event to welcome both Bhanuka and Sandeepa. Subsequently, they were welcomed by the Vidyaratna Science faculty in Horana. Another event was organized at the Govina Primary School to welcome Sandeepa to his hometown. Subsequent to attending the event in Ingeria, Bhanuka and Sandeepa reached Horana. A special event to felicitate both the young boxers for bringing glory to their alma mater was held in Horana. An exhibition bout took place thereafter.
Super Fighter. Well, that's a wrap from the Newsfirst team for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Arundhati Mudannayaka.
And I'm Adushka Balasuriya. Thanks for stopping by.